Welcome to the PJ Hoop Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and if this is your very first time checking out my podcast, first and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out my podcast. You won't be disappointed. Now, on my podcast, I mainly like to cover the NBA, but I also like to talk about college, high school, and international basketball. Last week, I covered the Pacific Division. I'll leave that up in the corner for you guys to go ahead and check out. Today is the last episode of my season preview for all 30 teams. Today we're doing the NorthWest Division, so that entails the Denver Nuggets, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Utah Jazz, and then the Portland Trailblazers. Now I want to give you guys kind of my topics that I go over with all 30 NBA teams. First being I go over their free agencies, so upcoming free agents for the team. Then I also like to talk about their rookies, and then I like to talk about basically the team's expectations / my thoughts about the team, and understand that I'm being somewhat vague in that segment just so I don't give away my actual season predictions in a later episode. And then I go over players to watch for, and then I close it out with the team's draft capital. Now, I want to let you guys know this is being recorded October 8th, which is a Wednesday, 2025. So anything that happens after today, just understand that, okay? Let's dive straight into it. So the first team that I want to talk to you guys about is the Denver Nuggets. Denver last year finished the season 50-32. They finished 4th in offensive efficiency, 22nd in defensive efficiency, and now we'll dive into their free agency. So Nikola Jokic ended up declining his extension this summer because if he waits until next year, he can actually gain an extra $80 million on his contract. So that's why he didn't extend this summer. Some people were like, kind of skeptical on why he didn't extend. That's why he can get an extra $80 million next summer. Christian Braun will be a restricted free agent next summer. Peyton Watson will be a restricted free agent next summer. Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway are just going to be straight up free agents next summer. So contract year for Christian Braun and Peyton Watson. You already know what that means. They had no rookies. They didn't draft any new rookies. So let's go straight to the team's expectations / my thoughts about the team. Now, my expectations about this team is they're obviously a championship contending team. I think we all can universally recognize and identify and highlight that. I think what's going to be better about this team this year, obviously they added Bruce Brown, they added Big Val, and they added Tim Hardaway. But I think what's really going to be, eye-popping for this team is these young guys being a year removed from gaining the experience they gained in the playoffs, like the Julian Strawthers, the Peyton Watsons, the Jalen Pickett's, even a guy that I was really high on last summer when I did my Denver season preview, Deron Holmes. He'll be coming back off of, I think he tore either his Achilles or his ACL last summer, but I was pretty high on him coming out last year. And I think this year, obviously, going to take him some time to, get his feet under him, coming off the injury and it being his first time in the NBA. But I think once he gets his feet, under him, I think he's going to be a very big help off this bench for this team. I really like Deron Holmes. I liked him at Dayton, and I liked when they drafted him last summer. But yeah, I just think these younger guys being a year removed from gaining that experience, and also I think it's also going to be big. I thought also last year, the end of last year was very big for David Adelman as well. I thought he coached very well during the playoffs, and I really like him as a coach. Just off of that very, very small sample size we had of him. I liked him. I liked his adjustments that he wasn't afraid to make during the playoffs. I liked him a lot, and I'm looking forward to watching him coach, having a whole off season to coach this team, and then having all year to coach this team. I'm looking forward to seeing his coaching job with a full year, and also I think this team is going to, play with more joy this year. I believe last year for Denver, it looked like there was a lot of frustration. We saw Nikola Jokic get openly mad, and, that's rare. Up to that point, it was rare to see Nikola Jokic act like that. So I just think there was a lot. I think it was very tense, a lot of frustration within the organization last year. I think that's been lifted. And so I expect this team to be right there in that championship bubble, no doubt, is what I'm expecting from this team. And I'll just leave it at that to you guys. So let's go to my players to watch for. One is one of the guys I just named, Deron Holmes. I think he's going to bring a lot of energy off the bench for this team. Like I said, once he gets up to speed because he's coming off the injury, I really like him a lot. I think he's going to have a chance for sure to steal Zeke Najee's minutes. For sure. He's better than Zeke Najee in my opinion. And even maybe some minutes from Big Val. I think he might be able to steal some minutes from Big Val as well. Once he gets his feet under him is what I'm talking to you guys about. So probably I'm assuming maybe after the second half of this upcoming season, or maybe after the first 25 games or so. But don't be surprised. I don't want you guys to be surprised if he's the first big man to come off the bench for this team at a point during this season. Like, I'm that high on him. I think he's ideally what Denver needed last year, and I was happy when I seen that they were taking him. When they took him in the draft last year, I was excited. And like I said, I talked about him to you guys last summer as well. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what he brings to the table at the NBA level. But yeah, I'm pretty high on him. So that's Deron Holmes. And then another player, I just named him slightly too, is Julian Strawther. I think he's really going to benefit from basically the second year. I think this next year is going to be better for him, being a more feature player on offense. Last year was the first year that they was really giving him steady minutes, but I think this next year, and then also him getting that little bit of playoff exposure that he was able to receive, and then also him being in that second unit, I think he's going to get better looks in that second unit with Bruce Brown, who's probably going to be more so of the playmaker in that second unit, and then you got Tim Hardaway spotting up, and then you got Peyton Watson playing good defense. I think it's just going to allow Julian Strawther to just play a little bit more freely and just focus on getting his buckets this year. So don't be surprised. And I guess I'm putting this on the record. I want to put it on the record to you guys. Now, I was going to wait until my season episode, like my award episode, but I got Julian Strawther as a dark horse for Sixth Man of the Year. He's one of my dark horses. I usually give 2 dark horses per award, and then I have my 3 finalists. But yeah, he's one of my dark horses for Sixth Man of the Year. I think he's really going to benefit with this second unit this year, in my opinion. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts there. Now let's go to my draft capital. 2026, they own their own pick. 2027, it's top 5 protected. Otherwise, 6 through 30 will go to either Oklahoma City or the Clippers. 28, top 5 protected. And if it's not settled in 27, then in 28, the pick will go to OKC 6 through 30. And the same stipulations apply in 2029. It's top 5 protected. Sorry, I've been up since 4. It's top 5 protected. And otherwise, it goes to Oklahoma City in 29. 2030, again, same stipulations. And then 2031, they have their own pick. And then 2032, it goes to Brooklyn. So you guys let me know down in the comment section below, like, what are your thoughts about this Denver team? And what are your expectations for Cam Johnson? You see, I didn't talk about him at all because I just felt like that's just boring. That's why I didn't talk about Cam Johnson. To me, that's just boring. That's just a boring. I don't know. That's just boring. That's just. I feel like that's so. I feel like a lot of people are going to talk about him, and I don't want to talk about the obvious, So that's why I talked about some of the people I talked about in this episode. But you guys let me know down in your comment section below, like, what are your expectations for this team as a whole, and what are you expecting out of Cam Johnson? Now, the next team that I want to talk to you guys about is the Portland Trailblazers. Portland last year finished the year 36-46. They finished 23rd in offensive efficiency, 16th in defensive efficiency, and now we'll go ahead and talk about their free agents. Rob Williams and Matisse Thybulle are both going to be free agents next summer. Shaedon Sharpe is a restricted free agent next summer. Blake Wesley's a free agent. Rajon Rupert is a restricted free agent, and Duat Reith is a restricted free agent. Tamani Kamara is on a non-guaranteed contract. Well, I guess it'd be non-guaranteed next summer if they decide. I mean, obviously they're going to extend him next summer, truth be told, so it doesn't even matter. Let's go to their rookies. They drafted Hansen Yang or Yang Hansen, whatever preference you guys want to call him. But so I hate to say this. I really don't want to say this, but I think it's a very great chance. I would say 75% chance we're going to see him play this year, like actual minutes. And I think it's because, unfortunately, I'm going to knock on wood. Unfortunately, I think Donovan Clingan and or Robert Williams will get hurt, and his number is going to be called. I'm not expecting Honestly, I'm just looking for flashes with him. I know he's still a very raw prospect. I understand that. And he's shown flashes with his footwork and his passing and just his actually has a pretty high IQ as well for somebody that's played with the competition he's played with and the players he's played with. And to have that kind of command of the offense the way he does, the way he orchestrates, I think it's amazing to watch. But yeah, so I do expect him to play this year. I really, really do. Obviously, if these two guys are going to, if Robert Williams and Klingon are predominantly going to be healthy, then yes, he's not going to play this year. But I think based on what I'm seeing out of training camp and just what I know the history of Robert Williams and even Klingon, I think it's a really great chance we will see Hansen play this upcoming season. And all I'm looking for is how does he go ahead? How does he defend the pick and roll? How does he rotate out on guards? And how does he go about, fitting into the offense is the biggest thing. We just want to see, glimpses, right? At his rookie year, he's coming over from a different country. We just want to see flashes. So that's all I'm really looking for with him. But I'm excited to watch him play. And we'll see what happens. Who knows? He may shock some people and end up, midway through the year, we may be talking about him as a Rookie of the Year candidate. We just never know, So I'm excited to see. And I most importantly, I really hope he's able to live up to his draft where he was drafted, because I know we were all shocked when he got drafted. And I just hope that he's able to, live up to that. And I think he will. I think he got drafted at 16th? At 16th, what are your expectations to be a rotational player? You're not really expected to be a starter, So I think he'll be fine. I just obviously think this year is going to be a big growing year for him. And that's all we want to see, right? We just want to see progression, not perfection. So let's go to the team expectations / thoughts. So they ended up firing 3 of their assistant coaches and their player development coach as well. And then they obviously signed Chauncey to and extended his contract. So he's under contract through 2027-2028 season, which I thought was deserved for sure. I've been a Chauncey fan. I've come on here and I've vouched for him to you guys. I thought he was a good coach. I still think he's a good coach. So it's good to see him to get his extension. But then also, I think a very interesting hire, and I'm so interested to see what the offense is going to look like because they hired Tiago Splitter. Tiago Splitter, the one that played for the Spurs. So they hired him as an assistant. Actually, one of the top assistants on the team. He's going to be predominantly the person bringing in the offensive schemes and running the offense. So I'm interested to see what this offense looks like because to me last year, their offense it looked really bad. It looked very stagnant for sure. It didn't look pretty. So I'm interested to see how that goes. And they hired another guy. They also hired another guy from Memphis too. One of the assistant coaches from Memphis too. So it's going to be interesting. I'm interested to see what Tiago's offense looks like. I'll be there opening night. Portland plays Minnesota. So I'm very excited to watch Shaedon Sharpe versus Anthony Edwards because when they played last year, it was great. It was great. It was a great matchup to watch. But also this year with this team, I think something that the team is really going to struggle with this year is their 3-point shooting. They don't really have much reliable 3-point shooting on this roster. I know there's been a couple of the guys over the summer that have been working on their game and that's been working specifically on their 3-point shooting. So we'll see if that's addressed this season for some of these guys. I know Shaedon Sharpe said he's been working on his 3-point shooting this summer and he's a much better shooter. He should be a much better shooter from 3 than what the numbers say. And I think this is a year where he'll get better at that. But yeah, so I think 3-point shooting is going to be something that's going to be big for this team, making sure they can hit the 3 consistently. And they don't have to be a top 10 3-point shooting team. Even if they're just middle of the pack, I think that's enough, But I do fear that they're going to be at the bottom half of the NBA in 3-point shooting, and I hope I'm wrong. But that is a concern of mine for this team. But on the bright side, I think they will be in the latter half and the top half of the NBA when it comes to teams that are able to apply pressure on the rim and also scoring in transition. I think they'll be able to do that. And then most importantly, this is going to be a top 10 defensive team, no doubt. Even before they added Drew Holiday, I felt that way. But just adding him kind of solidifies that is what I think is going to happen. And then also I'm going to give you guys a hot take. I just feel like giving you a hot take right now. I do, and this is probably going to be and then one other take is probably going to be my hot takes for the season. I think the Portland Trailblazers are going to make the play-in this year. That's all I'm going to say. I'll just leave it at that. Not going to say much more about it. And then let's go to my players to watch for. So one is Mr. Shaedon Sharpe. I have been raving about him on this podcast multiple times. I'm not going to do that right now. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. My main reason why he's a player that I'm highlighting is because I believe this is, one, it's a contract year. Two, I also think this is the year that he announces to the city and probably most importantly to the NBA that he's arrived and this is his team. I know a lot of people are gung-hoing about Dame coming back. Dame is like 35, 36. Like, nobody's looking for a 36-year-old to be leading a team, you know? Like, this is Shaedon Sharpe's team. I said this to you guys last summer. This was his team. I still believe it. A lot of you guys may think Denny. It's going to be Denny. No, this is Shaedon Sharpe's team. And the Portland Trailblazers, I'll say it again, will go as far as Shaedon Sharpe takes them. He's the only person on this team that can take this team to where they're trying to go, which is obviously winning the NBA title. But yeah, so I do believe, I think he's a special talent. I think he's a special talent. And I think he can be right there, him and Anthony. I think we could have conversations about who's the best shooting guard in the NBA between Anthony Edwards and Shaedon Sharpe. If Shaedon wants to be that, you know, if Shaedon has that will and want, he can put himself in those conversations with Anthony Edwards. And this is, like I said, this is a year I think he's going to take another leap. He took a pretty I think a solid leap last year, but I think this is a year where he's going to say, give me the keys and let's ride. Okay. Another player is Donovan Clingan. I really wanted to see, and I said it to you guys last summer, and I said it all throughout the year. I wanted to see him come into this year slimmer. From what I've seen, he did lose a lot of weight, so that's great. I still want to see him on the court. I'm excited to watch him on the court because I think if he's in shape, I think Donovan Clingan is for sure a defensive player of the year, like a perennial candidate for years to come. He's that kind of defender. And that's all I'm going to say about him is, that's all I'm going to say about Donovan Clingan. I got nothing else to say. I just want to see him come in the season in shape because if he is, he's the real deal. And I think last year he was top 3 in I think defensive field goal percentage. I think at the rim. I'm pretty sure it was top 3. Don't quote me on that. You guys can fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure he was top 3 in that. So no, Clingan's for real. He just needs to lose weight. And then the last player I want to talk to you guys about is Mr. Scoot Henderson. Scoot unfortunately got hurt, so he's gonna miss. He's gonna miss the preseason. He missed training camp, and he's gonna miss probably a good chunk of the season. All I tell you guys is just be patient. I think we'll be able to see what Scoot's been working on. I think it's gonna take him about a month or two to really, ramp up and get into the rhythm of everything. But I think people just misunderstand who he is as a player. And I talked a lot about who he was as a player last summer during my season preview episode. And then also, like, anytime that I talked about Portland during the year, I talked about him. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and talk about him right now to you guys. Just know I think Scoot is a starting level point guard in this NBA. I think he's a starting level point guard for a playoff team. Yeah, I'm not going to go into a whole spill about him. I just tell you guys just to be patient with him. Be patient. Be patient with the kid. You got to remember he didn't go to college. But yeah, he's a hard worker. He's a gym rat. I'm not going to sit up here and talk too much about him. But biggest thing is what I'm basically telling you guys about Scoot this year. Scoot's going to show you guys, that he belongs in the league. And that he is a starter level point guard. I don't know if he's going to start this year because Portland has Drew Holiday, but I do think Scoot is going to show his improvements once more this year. I thought he improved last year. I know some people didn't think he really improved, but from his rookie year to last year, I thought he improved. But yeah, no, I just think I think this is a year for Scoot to continue to grow. And so now we'll go to the draft capital. So 2026, it's top 14 protected. 15 through 30 for 26 and 27, it's top 14 protected. Otherwise, it goes to the Chicago Bulls. Oh, I'm sorry, all the way up to 2028, it's like that. 1 through 14, it goes to Portland. 15 through 30 goes to the Bulls. And then also in 28, they have the swap rights for the Bucks pick. In 29, Portland will get the most favorable and then the least favorable between the Portland's pick. Boston's pick and Milwaukee's pick. And then the one that's in the middle, the second most favorable one, will go to the Washington Wizards. 2030, they got the swap rights for the Bucks pick again. 2031 and 2032, they have their own picks. You guys let me know down in the comment section below. What are your thoughts and opinions about this Blazer team? And what are you guys' expectations for Shaedon Sharpe and for one Scoot Henderson? The next team that I want to talk to you guys about is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota last year finished the season 49-33. They finished 8th in offensive efficiency, 6th in defensive efficiency. And now we'll go ahead and talk about their free agents. Mike Conley and Joe Ingles will both be free agents next summer. Jalen Clark is a restricted free agent next summer. And now we'll go ahead and talk about their rookies. So they drafted Joan Beringer. And I told you guys before in my pre-draft episode, I told you guys he reminded me of Nick Claxton. I'm still standing by that. I still believe that. And I do think he's going to be oddly enough, even though he's a rookie, I think he's going to be an important player for this team, because we see how much of a liability Rudy Gobert can be and is at times. But I think Joan Beringer has a little bit more bounce to him. He's for sure much, much more mobile. He's obviously a rookie, so he's going to have those, those woes. But I really think down the stretch of games, don't be surprised if we see him in the game, potentially. Don't get me wrong. I like Julius Randle. I like Naz Reid. But down the stretch of close games, I think you do need that rim protection, and I just don't like Julius Randle and Naz Reid as my back line necessarily. So I think we could see Joan Beringer in the game down the stretches of games at a point this year. Or maybe we're a year out from it. Maybe I'm just forecasting a year out. But I do believe we're going to see him. I think he's going to get minutes this year, and yeah, I'm excited to watch him. Like I said, he reminds me of Nick Claxton. Let's go to the team expectations. So obviously the team was sold. They got new owners. A-Rod's a part owner of the team. They only bought the team for $1.5 billion, so they obviously are going to be able to invest a lot more money into this team, since we've seen how much some of these other franchises were sold for after the fact. So that's something just to look out for. And I think this is also one of these teams that have a really nice blend of young players and then also players that are in their prime. I think the biggest thing for this team is we know – I don't want to say too much because I'm going to do my players to watch for. So I don't want to say too much there. But basically, I think Minnesota is honestly kind of in a pretty solid spot for the most part. You don't really see many people talking about them. They're not really in the news right now. I think they're kind of flying under the radar behind, like we're specifically talking about the West, right? So I think they're flying under the radar behind the Denvers, the OKCs, the Houstons of the world. Some people may even say maybe Dallas or the Lakers or the Clippers. I think Minnesota's kind of in the shadows, right? And just kind of just leaning against the wall and just looking at everybody like, okay, y'all forgot about us. Like that's kind of how I feel about Minnesota. That's how I view people are kind of treating. I really don't see nobody talking about Minnesota. And maybe I'm just looking at the wrong outlets. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. Maybe people are talking about Minnesota, but that's a team I don't know, man. Keep your eyes on Minnesota this year. Anthony Edwards takes that leap and learns how to play that in-between game. And just kind of, as long as he learns his in-between game, learns how to properly attack a double team when it comes, watch out, man. And then you got Julius Randle. Julius Randle will have a full year under his belt with this team. We see how much better they looked the second half of last year. I love the young guys they got coming off the bench. I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is for sure somebody that I was high on him. I talked about him to you guys too last summer during their season preview, how I felt like he was a really good pickup for them. I liked him at Illinois. This team is, this is a for real team. I think the biggest question mark for me with this team, and it's just like it was last year, and I told you guys last year this, is Mike Conley. Mike Conley's he's up there in age if we're keeping it a buck, so, and he's just another year older this year. So does he have just a little bit of gas just a little bit. I'm just talking like maybe like an eighth of a tank left in him to really help this team get to where they're trying to go, you know? We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But again, I don't want to say too much because I have more to say, but what else I'm going to say has to do with my players that are in my players to watch for, okay? So let's just dive straight into players to watch for. Let's go there. One is Rob Dillingham. Like I told you guys, Mike Conley has 1 year left on his deal. And so I really do expect Rob's, during the regular season, I do expect his role to grow. I expect him to show some type of growth this year. And I also think he's going to have the opportunities to show he's the next man up. I think they spent too much to move up to go get him in the draft. Last year was his rookie year, so we know. I think a lot of people forget when you're dealing with a rookie in any sport, like they're going to have to go through that transition phase. It's a different. You're playing with grown men that are playing for their paycheck, right, to feed their kids, feed their grand. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a different ball game, you know. So Rob had the whole year, had a whole offseason. Hopefully he bulked up. I haven't seen him, but I hope he's bulked up a little bit. But yeah, he's gonna have a chance to come off this bench and really give this team something. And that's what I'm looking forward to. Is he's got 1 more year to learn under Mike Conley. I told you guys last summer that I felt Mike Conley was gonna be able to basically nurture and be his mentor. So this is a year Rob got to show us something. He got to show us something coming off that bench, you know. Another player is Terrence Shannon Jr. Like I told you guys, I talked about him last summer to you guys. I'm going to sit here and do that again. My biggest thing with him is for him to show that continued growth. I mean, he's going into his prime. So I'm interested to see what goes on there. And I'm also just interested to see if he's the first guard to come off the bench, or is it still Dante? I know Dante is a hothead. So I'm interested just to see how that dynamic goes with those two. Not necessarily those two players like head to head, like beefing with each other. But I know Dante may feel some type of way if his role may have shrunk slightly because Terrence can do more offensively when it comes to being a multi-dimensional offensive player. Terrence Shannon Jr. can score in bunches in all types of ways, and he's a bigger guard too. So I'm interested, and also we got to remember also Dante only got 2 years left on his deal. So who's to say Minnesota doesn't see Dante and him being a hothead, and it's like, well, let's get off of him now since we can lean into Terrence Shannon, we can lead into Rob Dillingham. That's kind of what I'm going to be looking out for. Yeah, basically is what I'm going to be looking out for Terrence Shannon. And then the last player is the man that he's the engine, he's the transmission, he's the alternator, he's all of it. And that's Anthony Edwards. Him going into his first year of his prime, in my opinion, this is his first year where he'll be 24, or he is 24. And so, like I told you guys, I think him getting his whole baby stuff situated, I think that was good. You know, he got that out of his system last year. I think, like we all know, he needs to show more of that middle of the pack, that middle of the line game, that in-between game, that free throw line and in game. I think that's really going to help this offense as a whole if Anthony Edwards comes like that. And I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to, and I'm going to tell you guys why. Because, so I'm big on, for me, I think for sure actions speak louder than words, no doubt about it. But I like to pay attention to what people do and not what they say. Anthony Edwards last summer literally said he was going to work on his 3-ball. He said, I got to work on my 3-ball. You know, he's working with KD and all them at the Olympics last summer or whatnot, right? And he comes into the season and does what? He shoots lights out from 3. The dude shoots lights out from 3 this last season, right? This summer, it's all about that mid-game. It's studying Mike. It's studying Kobe. It's studying players like a DeMar DeRozan, right? Like, that's what Anthony Edwards been doing this summer, and I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to come into this year and show us that. Anthony Edwards, and I'll tell you guys right now, and I'm giving you guys a inside of my season preview and kind of my award episode. Anthony Edwards is one of my top 3 for MVP this year. That's the kind of expectations I'm putting on him this year, is what I got for Ant. I'm not going to say anything else about that. Let's go to draft capital. 2026, they get the least favorable of their own in Utah. Wait, least favorable Minnesota and Utah 1-3 to Minnesota. So yeah, Minnesota will get the least favorable basically of theirs and Utah's pick. And then 27 will go to Utah or Phoenix. 28, they have their own pick. 29 is top 5 protected. Otherwise, 6 through 30 goes to Utah or Charlotte. 2030 is top 1 protected. 2 through 30 goes to the Spurs, and that's 2030. 2031, it goes to Sacramento. And 2032 is frozen. It's frozen for right now. You guys let me know down in the comment section below. What are your thoughts and expectations for this Minnesota team? The next team that I want to talk to you guys about is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma last year finished the year 68-14, which is just crazy to even say that. They finished third in offensive efficiency and first in defensive efficiency. And now before I get into their stuff, I got to pat myself on the back, because if you guys were following me all last year, I kept coming on here. I kept having OKC number 1. And going into the season, I kid you not, just about everything I said about this team, it came to fruition. And I'm just going to say that. And going into the playoffs, I said they were going to win the NBA title. They won it. Each round, every round, I picked them to win it. I didn't care who they was going to play. I felt like it was destiny for them to win that NBA title last year. So, yeah, I got to pat myself on the back, because if you've been following me last year, you would have been right there with me the whole ride. Anyways, let's get into it. Let's talk about their free agents. Lou Dort has a team option. Hartenstein has a team option. Chet and Jalen Williams extensions kick in next year. Kenrich Williams has a team option. Ousmane Dieng he's a restricted free agent, and Cason Wallace is extension eligible. Rookie watch, they drafted Thomas Seuber and Brooks Barnhizer. So before I talk about those two players, I want to talk about Nikola Topic, because last year they drafted him last year. He obviously got injured, and I told you guys this last summer that for me at least, kind of scouting the prospects in last year's draft, for me Nikola Topic was the best pick and roll player, operating out of the pick and roll. He was the best, to me, facilitator coming out of the pick and roll, in my opinion. And I was looking forward to watching him play last year, but obviously got injured. So I'm very interested just to see if he's able to crack the rotation. I know the team is basically they're running back the whole team, the same team this upcoming year. So I'm interested just to see where he fits in. And I think most importantly this year for him, I think the most important thing is him just gaining the NBA experience. I don't really have much expectation for him, if I'm being honest with you guys. I mean, I think a successful year looks like for him is if he can become a part of this playoff rotation going into next NBA postseason. I think that would be, to me, that would be kind of like, that was an amazing year for him. That's how I would describe that. If he can crack the playoff rotation, then that's amazing. But my expectation for him mainly is just getting his feet wet, maybe coming in during garbage time is kind of my expectations. But I mean, I don't know how he's doing right now in camp or anything, but if he's doing well in camp, and let's say, he's dominating players, then he might be a part of the rotation. I don't know, though. Maybe you guys down in the comment section below can let me know kind of where is he at OKC's training camp. I haven't taken the time to look at it. But, yeah, I'm kind of, looking forward to watching him play this year. And then, like I just said, I'll talk about another one of the other players is Thomas Seuber. He was one of my draft sleepers. I loved him at Georgetown. And, yeah, I talked very glowingly about him in my pre-draft episode and in my post-draft episode. I'm not going to do that again here with you guys. If you're interested in seeing that, you can go ahead and check out those episodes. It's unfortunate he's not going to play this year because he tore his ACL. But I do expect him to be a part of this rotation a year from now. I think he's kind of the insurance policy for Hartenstein. That's why I think they drafted him. And if he is who I think he is, then he will be a starter by year 3 or year 4. You can book that. And then another player draft was Brooks Barnhizer. I think he probably won't play for the team most this year. I think mostly he'll probably be in the G League, but he is a very solid defender. Team expectations / thoughts. I think they're going to have a great chance to win 60-plus games again. No championship hangover. I think it's going to happen for them. They're not going to have a championship hangover. I think the things for me that I'm going to be looking out for them is basically them becoming offensively more consistent. In my opinion, there were a lot of stretches during last year and even during the playoffs where their offense just looked frozen. It looked extremely uncomfortable. They went on a lot of cold streaks. So I just want to see that kind of mature offense now. Now they got a ring under their belt. have a better understanding of who they are as a team. So I just want to see them offensively kind of cruise, which is I know it's nuts to even say that because they finished third in offensive efficiency, but there's still that room to grow, right? They only finished third, so there's 2 more spots that they can achieve. But yeah, I just want to see them, I guess, offensively just be a little bit more, like I said, consistent and make it look a little more fluid. There was times where it was very stagnant, in my opinion. I'm also interested to see if any of these guys, because they have a lot of contract situations and things coming up, I'm interested to see if any of that lingers into the year, into the season, and are some of these players on their toes, kind of worried about if they're going to get traded or anything, because OKC most likely is going to have 3 first-round picks in next year's draft. So this is the last year we're going to see this iteration of this team. Like, I'm pretty positive about that. I would say I'm about 80% positive that this is the last year we're going to see this iteration of the Oklahoma City Thunder with all these guys on the team, is what I'm saying to you guys. Unless they decide to trade all 3 draft picks and run the team back again, which I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. So, yeah, I'm just interested to see what that looks like for this team. Obviously, they're a championship team, and I don't really say anything else about that. So let's go to players to watch for. One is Shea. The question for Shea and why I put him on this list, and I could have picked in so many other players on this team, but I chose Shea because I'm interested. I want to know how great does Shea want to be? What does he want his legacy to be? I mean, he just had a season. He had a Michael Jordan type year last year. I'm going to just call it for what it is. And I said that last year during the season. I told you guys he was having a Michael Jordan-esque season. And he capped it off, with winning the MVP, winning the scoring title, winning the finals MVP. How great does he want to be as a player? He's got a chance. He's going to have a chance to win MVP again and win finals MVP again. The only players that I know of that's done that, I don't have it in front of me, but the only players that I know of that's won back-to-back MVPs and back-to-back finals MVPs, I believe it's only Michael Jordan and LeBron. I believe are the only players to do that. I could be wrong, and I would love for one of you guys to fact check me, but I'm pretty sure it's only Mike and LeBron that's won back-to-back regular season MVPs and back-to-back NBA titles and finals MVPs. Like, how great does Shea want to be as a player? That's what I'm interested to just watch and see. I'm all for it, Another player is Chet. Does he continue to put on weight, and can he stay healthy? He's been injured every year he's been in the NBA. He missed his whole rookie year. Last year, he only played 32 games. Healthy, Chet is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and he was on my ballot last year, and he may or may not be on my ballot again this year. But it's just, Chet, holding his body up. And what does that look like? Does OKC look at Chet and say, we don't want to deal with this anymore, and we would rather ship him to maybe Milwaukee for Giannis? Just a thought. Let's go to draft capital. 2026, here we go. They got a lot of picks. So here we go. Be patient with me. 26, Oklahoma City, they got their own pick. They got Houston's 5 through 30, which they're going to get. They got OKC's, they got the Clippers pick. Yeah, this is weird. So you got OKC's, Houston's 5 through 30, and the Clippers pick to OKC. OKC, I think gets 2 of those. And then the other will go to the Wizards. And then they also get Philadelphia's 5 through 30. And then they also have the chance to get Utah's 9 through 30, which obviously not going to get Utah's pick. Most likely they're probably going to have the Clippers pick, and then either them and Houston's pick, and then they'll have Philly's pick. They're going to have 3 first-round picks is what I'm assuming, unless they trade them for later down the line, which actually I think would be a really good idea, if I'm being honest with you guys. Just ship them down the line. Okay, 2027, the 2 most favorable of OKC and then Denver 6 through 30, and the Clippers will go to OKC. And then if Philly's match for some odd reason doesn't settle, if it's not settled in 26, it will happen in 27, 5 through 30. Phillies will go to OKC. Then they also get the Spurs 17 through 30 and 27. 28, They have the right to their own or swap for Dallas's pick. And then if Denver's pick don't convey in 27, it's the same stipulations. They get Denver's pick 6 through 30. 29, they have their own. And then again, 29 and 30, it's the same thing again with the Denver thing. They have their own pick, and then they'll have Denver 6 through 30 if it doesn't convey. And then 2031 and 2032, they have their own picks. You guys let me know down in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on this Oklahoma City Thunder's team? And what do you think they should do with their roster moving forward? Do you think they should extend the guys that are on the team now? Do you think they should ship some of them off? What are your guys' thoughts? You guys let me know down in the comment section below. The last team that I want to talk to you guys about is the Utah Jazz. Utah last year finished the season 17 and 65. They finished 24th in offensive efficiency and 30th in defensive efficiency. Free agents. They drafted Yusuf Nurkic is a free agent. George Niang will be a free agent. Kyle Anderson is on a non-guaranteed contract. Walker Kessler's a restricted free agent, so contract year. Kevin Love will be a free agent. Taylor Hendricks has a team option / he's extension eligible. Rookie watch, they drafted Ace Bailey. I stood up for him in the pre-draft episode and my post-draft episode. I think he was a product of his environment at Rutgers. The coach was horrible. I think a lot of the players around him and Dylan Harper were horrible. I just think Dylan Harper was able to kind of weather that storm a little better than Ace Bailey because, one, he's a guard, but two, also, I just think Dylan Harper is a little bit more advanced and farther along of what kind of player he's going to be than Ace is. I think Ace for sure is a little bit more of a raw prospect more so. But what I love about Ace is that he's a tough shot maker and a tough shot taker. And to me, those are two skills you got to have when we're talking about being in the playoffs. And that's what I love, is that he already has those attributes to his game. He needs to improve his basketball IQ and his decision-making for sure when it comes to shot selection. But what I really like about Ace as well, and I've noted this to you guys, is that I think he's an underrated rim protector and he's an underrated passer. There was times last year where I seen him make some really impressive cross-the-court passes. But then also was times last year where he played power forward and center for this team, and he was rim protecting at a pretty high level, in my opinion. So yeah, my main thing for him this year is to just show everybody in the NBA that he belongs. And that's about it. You know, I don't have super high expectations for him necessarily. I just want him to show people that he belongs, because I think he belongs. And I think he's better than what a lot of people was giving him credit for. I've seen a lot of mock drafts before he was drafted that had him mocked like in the middle of the back end of the top 10. And I'm like, no, I don't think Ace Bailey's that bad. So yeah, I just want him to show people that what he's made of, you know. Another player drafted was Walter Clayton. I think them drafting him was basically just, you know, solidifying their backup point guard. So he might see himself on the court pretty earlier than expected is what I could see. I think for sure he'll play this season, really as games and stuff gets away from them. I think for him, it's just mainly him coming in and just getting buckets. We'll see though. Maybe he's more than just a backup. Maybe he turns out to be the next Steph Curry. Who knows, you know? But yeah, I think he's just going to be a glorified backup point guard, and I think that's okay. I think there's nothing wrong with that being a backup point guard. But yeah, I like Walker Kessler. He's a bucket getter. I don't know if long term. To me, he plays like a shorter version of Jamal Murray. Personally, is how I view him, his play style. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Walter Clayton. Team expectations / thoughts. I think it's very likely that they're going to tank again this year. I think they just really want to get AJ DeBontis, is I think what they really want to do. I mean, I stated this last fall, literally last fall. I told you guys this. I still believe that. They really should. I think they also really should, though, be trying to develop some good habits. Would be, I think they do have some pretty good offensive and defensive talent on this team. So I think this year, what it looks like for this team is, yes, obviously they're not going to win that many games. We know this. But I honestly just want to see that progression and them developing good habits is what I think is going to be key for this team. Let's get into my players to watch for. One is Keontae George. He's one of my favorite young guards to watch. His efficiency still isn't there yet, but I'm not selling my stock on him quite yet. I'm giving him one more year. I'm going to give him one more year to show me something. Because I think this year he'll take a leap and become a little bit more efficient. His scoring numbers, I think last year his scoring numbers did improve, but he was still really inefficient. I'm giving him one more year to get his efficiency up. And that's kind of what I'm looking out for him. I love Keontae George, though. I've talked about him a lot on this pod. I talked about him last summer on this pod. I'm pretty sure he was on my players to watch for last year, too. Yeah, I'm a big Keontae George fan. I like Keontae George a lot as a player. Another player that I fucking love is Taylor Hendricks. I love me some Taylor Hendricks. I talked about him last year. He was on this list last year for me. Unfortunately, I think he broke his fibula. And I think that robbed him of having a big sophomore year last year. To me, he is a prototypical 3-and-D power forward in today's NBA. I think he's going to be able to guard 1 through 5. I'm very high on him. I was doing my audio podcast when he was getting drafted. But on my audio podcast, I was raving about him then. I told Utah I felt like Utah had a steal when they drafted him. I think he came out the same year as he was in the draft with, I think, Keontae and Bryce Sansaban. I think all three of them got drafted in that same draft, if I remember correctly. I know Utah was one of my draft winners that year. But yeah, I think Taylor Hendricks is going to have a big year this year. I think he's going to take that sophomore leap he was supposed to take last year. I think he'll take it this year. It might take him a couple games to get, take maybe 10, 15 games to get his feet, up under him. But yeah, I'm very high on Taylor Hendricks. I love him as a 3-and-D player for this team a lot. And then another player I just named his name is Bryce Sansaban. So Bryce Sansaban I said this to you guys last year, and I'm going to say it again, and he might be on my ballot this year. But he's for sure got future 6th man of the year written all over him, and maybe higher than that. He might. Him and Keontae are going to be duking it out for that spot. One of them is going to be the starting shooting guard. He's coming for Keontae's spot if he hasn't already taken it. Bryce is a bucket. He's a pure bucket. I think easily he's going to be close to 20 points per game this year. And to me, he's going to be in the conversation for 6th man of the year or maybe most improved. I like Bryce Sansaban a lot. I talked about him last year on my pod. I like Bryce Sansaban a lot. I think it's going to be a duel between him and Keontae George this year. He's a stone cold hooper, man. That man just gets buckets. And yeah, I'm just high on him. I'm high on him. I talked about him in my audio podcast as well. So I'm expecting him to have a very, very big year for this team. Him and Keontae this year, one of them's somebody's got to take the keys to this franchise. Somebody got to say, this is my team until they get AJ DeBontis in there or something. You know what I'm saying? Or if they get DP, or if they get Cam Boozer, you know what I'm saying? Or Nate Ament, or somebody, you know what I'm saying? Somebody got to take the reins to this team. And I want to see Bryce or Keontae do that this year. And I think one of them will. And that's what I want to see. Obviously, yes, they have Lauri Markkanen. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be there long term. But yeah, so that's why I'm not bringing. That's why I haven't talked about Lauri really, because I think the people that I've talked about, I think are more important to this team long term than Lauri Markkanen is. So you probably wonder why I haven't brought him up, but that's why essentially. But let's talk about their draft capital. 2026. Utah's 1 through, they keep their pick if it's 1 through 8. Otherwise, it goes to OKC. 27, the best of Utah, Cleveland, and Minnesota will go to Utah. The other will go to Phoenix. And then they get the Lakers pick 5 through 30. 28, they get their own or swap rights for Cleveland. 29, they get the best of their own, Cleveland and Minnesota, 6 through 30. The other one will go to the Hornets. So in 29, Utah will get 2 out of those 3 picks, and the other one will go to Charlotte. 2030 is their own. 2031 is their own, and Phoenix's unprotected pick. 2032 is their pick. Now, that's it. My season, 2025, 2026, team season previews. That's it. That's a wrap. That's all 30 teams. If you guys are interested in watching me talking about any other team, you can go ahead and check out some of the other episodes. They're organized by division. Otherwise, the next time you guys will hear from me will be for my season awards and my season standings is the next time you guys will hear from me. Otherwise, you guys have a great day, and PJ is out.